All right, some waiver wire for week 11, week 10, whatever fucking week it is. Um, Again, I mean, of the people that, if you hadn't picked them up, this is one of those weeks where there wasn't a lot of injuries. There wasn't a lot of, obviously, no trades since trade deadline was done. So, I mean, this is a week where, you can, it's more of which guys are available in your leagues. The thing is I don't know, every league is different. Certain guys are available in some leagues, some aren't. Like in one of my leagues, Sammy Watkins is available, but I mean he's taken in about 85% of leagues. So he's not a guy that I would like talk about just because he is usually owned in most leagues. But I mean, talking about this next week, quarterbacks, for a while, quarterbacks have kind of been kind of a I don't know, kind of a Jared Goff, Tyrod Taylor, Case Keenum. It was kind of those guys, Josh McCown. I've gone ahead and I've added Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's supposed to start this week. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a good quarterback. Jay Cutler played really good on Sunday night. He's a guy that could be serviceable. At this point in the year, you're not really looking for a starter. You might just be trying to fill a spot for a week or whatever. Drew Stanton, he threw 2 TDs. He wasn't bad. Andy Dalton, he'll always be on this list because he's probably not always available. He's probably always available in at least some leagues. Blake Bortles, and I added C.J. Beathard at 17. He's been pretty serviceable this year for as a quarterback. Now, running backs, the big ads last week were Damian Williams and Kenyon Drake. And both of them shared time. Both of them had over 10 points. So good. Good out of that. Kenyon Drake definitely looked like he might have been the more beneficial back to add, just because he looks like he's getting a majority of the load. The thing is about Williams is Williams did get the touchdown, so that's why he got over 10 points. Also, Derrick Henry's not very available in most leagues, but there are certain leagues that he is available in. He's a guy that I like to add. Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy's coming with a growing injury, but they were talked about to have Lacy as more of the main back. So we'll see how long Eddie Lacy's out, but when he gets back, he's a guy that I definitely want to add. Definitely I'm looking at, kind of hoping that he comes back soon. Orleans Darkwa, if he's available in leagues, if people have wanted to stay away from Giants running backs because it's kind of a three-headed monster, Darkwa's been good on the ground. He's one of the better rushers. It just depends on if he gets a TD or not, and he's playing the Niners this week, so good matchups there. For the Ravens, Alex Collins had a tough week, but he's still a good guy. People may be dropping him after picking him up and hoping he was going to be a good flex or RB2. People may drop him. Alex Collins is another nice pickup. He had a tough matchup against the Titans. Titans, load that box. They knew what the Ravens were going to do. Ravens are real easy to game plan against. Some other guys that are kind of just some under the radar type, we're coming back from injury. Terrence West, Danny Woodhead's supposed to be back soon, and then Zeke suspension, whenever the fuck that's supposed to happen. Alfred Morris, Darren McFadden. CJ Anderson hurt his ankle or something. Devontae Booker has been a guy I've talked about. Javaris Allen had 16 points in PPR last week. I see his production going down, and that's not a really trustworthy production that I can trust. Corey Clements had 3 touchdowns for the Eagles. If you want to add him and leave him on the bench and see what happens with him, but that's not something that I recommend. He did have a good week, though, in a crowded backfield. Tariq Cohen is a guy that people are starting to drop, and he's honestly been serviceable for most weeks. He's not been anything crazy. Like if you've got 2 good running backs and you've got a good wide receiver at your flex, you probably wouldn't start Tariq Cohen. You'd probably sit your bench. But if you're really looking for someone to start this week and you're not looking for a big, huge game, just a little bit over 5 or so, I would start Tariq Cohen this week. And then so wide receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster still is very available. He's the guy I definitely would add. They're playing the Colts this week. Cooper Kupp. Kenny Stills, Cole Beasley had 2 TDs. Terrence Williams had a big game. Terrence Williams has honestly had a pretty big year. Him and Dak have a pretty good connection. So I recommend adding one of them. Paul Richardson, Jamison Crowder, some of the more well known waiver wire additions this week. But I mean, well, last week more of, but they're still here. They're still available in most leagues. Robbie Anderson's caught a touchdown in 3 straight weeks. Robert Woods caught a TD last week, had a big game. Those two guys I really like, but I really liked them last week a lot more than this week. You know, if you try to grab them this week, they're probably not going to perform like you'd like them to. Marquise Lee, another guy that had 17 this week, and I don't know if he'll perform that way next week. Deontay Thompson had another big game for the Bills. Him and Tyrod definitely have a pretty good connection. Kelvin Benjamin's going to be coming back. Charles Clay's going to be coming back. So workload may be a little bit different, but those are some. He's done good. Willie Snead, if you get add Willie Snead, if people start dropping Willie Snead, and he starts performing, he could be someone good. And then Curtis Samuel and Russell Shepard. And Kalen Clay, those three guys are three of the guys that have stepped up and Kelvin Benjamin's absent. Obviously Devin Funches, but you're not going to get Devin Funches. He's probably gone. Josh Dotson, I talked about him. DeAnthony Thomas, another guy. Travis Benjamin is a guy that I like, but it's kind of hard to project that he's going to have another good week. He's had two TDs in a row a couple weeks back. But let me see if I'm forgetting anybody here. Nope. Devontae Parker, I think, would be available in leagues. But obviously, if you're going to go for a wide receiver for the Dolphins, I think you'd go for Stills over Parker. So tight ends, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, still my top dude. He only had 2 last week, but oh well. Vernon Davis had a pretty good week. He was pretty serviceable. He was probably the best add last week. George Kittle. Julian Thomas had a good week last week. He connected with Jay Cutler a good amount. He could be a guy that we could go with. Benjamin Watson catches a lot of passes from Joe Flacco. I think he's better in PPR than he is in standard scoring. Tyler Kroft, Andy Dalton's little security blanket he's got to have. And then Greg Olsen is going to be back November 26th. So, start adding him. Get ready to get him back on the team. He might be serviceable at the end of the year. We'll see. I mean, there's not a lot of serviceable tight ends, so you kind of have to trust it. And then kicker-wise, Kai Forbath, they're coming off a bye. The Vikings are, so he can be available in leagues. A lot of people will just drop kickers, not care. I like Kai Forbath a lot. Vikings kick a lot of field goals. Matt Prater. I'm kind of off Cameron Fairbairn. Cameron Fairbairn since Deshaun Watson's gone. Steven Hauschka. Another kicker I like, he'll start dealing with some wind and stuff like that soon. Chris Boswell is very available. Robbie Gould's very available. Graham Gano is pretty available. Those are some guys that I like at the kickers. And then defenses, I like Bears going up against the Packers this week. Saints playing Bills. I don't really as much necessarily like that matchup per se for either of the teams, but those are the Bills and Saints are two teams that I like. Defensively, Chargers is a team that I like defensively, like how they played against the Patriots, and they've been pretty good the weeks before that. Cowboys have been really good the last 3 weeks. Panthers have been pretty good, and then Redskins and Jags are some other teams that I added on the defenses if you need some this week. But I would say probably my top ad of the week would probably have to be, Robbie Anderson or Robert Woods. Cole Beasley, Terrence Williams, one of those, if Drake or if Williams is available in your leagues, Alex Collins, those are some guys. Darkwood, I think, is a big pick, but I think he's gone in most of leagues.